Carolyn Nishon. I'm the Executive Director for the Portland Symphony. I'm so glad you're all here. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. Welcome to the 2018-2019 season announcement. I will give you an outline of what you're going to hear this evening and then kick off the program. As I mentioned, my name is Carolyn. I'm the Executive Director. You will be hearing from Leah Pulio-Paul. She is our Director of Artistic Operations, and she's going to walk you through the process of how the 2018-19 season was put together. You will also hear from John Elliott. He is our Director of Education, and he's going to talk to you a bit about the programs that we're going to be having coming up for this season in the education realm, and talk a bit about the work that we're doing in the community. It's a very important part of what we do. When we think about the work of the Portland Symphony, it's in many different categories. Number one, world-class music. So critically important to what we do. It's our musicians, world-class artists that are playing all over the country and all over the world that play right here. Second, accessibility. We have programs that reach ages 4 to 104, and it is so important to our mission of enriching lives through music. And third, transforming lives through music, and that's the work that we're doing in the schools. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, as you may know, it's a bit of a unique season that we are going through right now. We are in a music director search, as some of you may or may not know. And this season, we have both Robert's final season and we have our candidates that are coming into town. What that means for next year is that we are in a transition. And when we have these candidates coming through, we are auditioning them. And what that means is that for the candidate that wins, they are already planning out in their own calendars about a year and a half or so in advance. And so what that means is that we will have what's called a music director designate for next year. So that's not officially their first year as the music director next year. It would be their first official year in the 1920 season. So what you'll see from Leah is actually a couple of placeholders where the music director designate will be coming and performing with the Portland Symphony, but they will not yet be the music director. So that's very important to note. We have a couple of really interesting and important members of the artistic community that are going to be joining us on stage next season, and Leah's going to talk about that, and then we'll turn it over to John Elliott to talk about education. So without further ado, Leah Pulio-Paul, Director of Artistic Operations. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Carolyn. So, as Carolyn mentioned, planning for the 18-19 season was a bit unusual in that we're in a transitional year without the music director at the helm. So to help us with that process, we brought on Ed Yim, who is president of the American Composers Orchestra and past VP of Artistic Planning at the New York Philharmonic. He helped guide us through the planning process. And he also helped secure a number of our guest conductors and guest soloists that you will see on next season's programs. He closely collaborated with the PSO's Artistic Planning Committee, and that is a committee that is made up of representatives from the PSO musicians, from staff members, trustees, and community members. So the committee started with several goals for this coming season. One, to work with really great artists, both up and coming and established. And some guest artists will be returning to the PSO, and some will be making their debut with the orchestra. We also wanted to ensure that the season was balanced stylistically and also represented repertoire that hadn't been done here in a long time. We wanted to celebrate our own PSO musicians, both as soloists and through repertoire that highlights their extraordinary talents. And we also wanted to have a desire to have a common thread throughout the season in the form of a mini residency. So we are so delighted that Jeffrey Kahane will fill the residency goal of the season. He will conduct our opening classical concert entitled Mozart and Tchaikovsky. Jeffrey will be providing the artistic line throughout the season and will explore 3 very unique programs over the course of the year. Kahane is known for both being a compelling conductor and also a very celebrated pianist. We will have the opportunity to experience both this season, but more on that later. In this first program, Kahane pairs Tchaikovsky with Mozart. Mozart was one of Tchaikovsky's greatest influences, and Tchaikovsky once said, "Amongst the great masters, Mozart is the one to whom I feel most attracted." This program opens with Mozart's Symphony No. 38, which is commonly referred to as the Prague Symphony. Lisa Hennessy is our principal flutist here at the Portland Symphony, and she will be featured as soloist on this program. She will perform American composer Lo Lieberman's Flute Concerto. Then on the second half of the program, Kahane pairs 2 Tchaikovsky pieces. First, we will hear the very recognizable third movement from Tchaikovsky's Serenade for Strings, and the program will conclude with Francesca da Rimini. This work portrays Francesca from Dante's Divine Comedy and is such a thrilling way to close the program. Bruce Hangen will return to work with the PSO on this October classical concert. As you may know, Bruce was one of the music directors for the PSO from 1976 to 1986. His tenure was marked by the creation of our very popular Magic of Christmas performances. Bruce also came to conduct when we had our 90th gala, and our musicians were just so delighted to have him back on the podium that they asked us to bring him back for another classical season, or program. He will open this program with Ernest Bloch's Shlomo, featuring soloist Matt Heimovitz. Heimovitz is a celebrated soloist with appearances with the New York Philharmonic, the Israeli Philharmonic, among others. More recently, he is known for pushing the boundaries of classical music by performing in non-traditional venues. He is a passionate musician with a very exciting stage presence. Hangen will conduct Mahler's Symphony No. 1, the Titan, on the second half of the program. Be sure to listen for the bass solo line in the third movement of this piece. You may recognize this as the famous Frere Jacques melody, only this time it will be in minor. All right. In November, we will see Jeffrey Kahane on the podium and as our piano soloist. Kahane treats orchestra playing like chamber music in terms of balance, ensemble, and phrasing, and will be very exciting to see him conduct Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 17. So that means he'll be playing the solo, but also conducting the orchestra. This program will conclude with Shostakovich Symphony No. 10. This symphony was premiered in Leningrad following the death of Stalin earlier that year. This piece is amongst Kahane's favorite works, and he was delighted when the committee suggested it to him. It was a perfect fit. All right. Our January classical concert is very special in that we have asked, as Carolyn mentioned, each one of our music director finalists to hold 2 weeks in the upcoming season. This allows us to work with the music director designate in the transitional or bridge season. This program will be presented both as a Sunday classical and a Tuesday classical. It opens with a special collaboration with the Telling Room. So the Telling Room is a local nonprofit organization, which is a writing center that focuses on young writers ages 6 to 18. This organization was a perfect natural partner for us, as they believe that the power of creative expression can change our communities and help prepare our youth for future successes. The Telling Room is in the process of identifying the winner of their storytelling competition. The writing prompt for this competition is based around color, and the winning work will be used as inspiration for a special commissioned work by composer Michael Thomas Fumai. Fumai worked with the Portland Symphony 4 years ago during our Beethoven cycle, and right now he is currently on the faculty at University of Hawaii. His works have been performed in orchestras across the country. We're so excited to be bringing him back again. You may notice that there's a space on this program for the music director designate to offer his suggestion for the work on the program. This will be a perfect way to acquaint our audience with our new music director's style. Closing the program and keeping in the storytelling theme of the program will be Rimsky-Korsakov's Scheherazade. This, of course, is based on the Middle Eastern folk tales that make up 1001 Nights, or commonly referred to as Arabian Nights. You'll hear solos from within the orchestra, especially the violin and harp. Our next classical concert will be led by Jaime Laurita. Jaime is a renowned violinist and conductor. He is also an active chamber musician and soloist, having soloed with virtually all the major orchestras in the world. Jaime is also the music director of the Vermont Symphony, so he's somewhat local. This program pairs Bach with Mendelssohn. They go together beautifully with their shared musical roots in Leipzig. Jaime will conduct the Bach A minor concerto. On the second piece will be Bizet's Symphony in C, which was written when he was 17 years old. This piece was widely thought to be a student assignment. It's a delightful work that shows the promise that Bizet showed even as a young composer. Mendelssohn's Symphony No. 3, the Scottish, is full of character and beautiful lines. This piece was inspired by Mendelssohn's trip to Scotland. Later in March, we welcome the rising talent of Ruth Reinhardt to our podium. Ruth is currently the assistant conductor of the Dallas Symphony and a Dudamel Fellow at the LA Philharmonic. She is a German-born conductor, having studied at Juilliard School with a student of Alan Gilbert. She's guest conducted the orchestras of Cleveland, Seattle, and Indianapolis. When we polled the musicians of the PSO, many expressed an interest in programming Schumann's work. As luck would have it, Ed Yim, who is our artistic advisor this season, noticed on Facebook that Ruth wrote a post where she admired the Clara Schumann Piano Concerto. So, made its way onto the program. This work is not often performed, but was composed when Clara was only 13 years old and performed when she was 16. This speaks to Clara's virtuosity and great composition talent. We will see a return of local pianist Diane Walsh as soloist. Diane performed Chopin second piano concerto with us last January, and we heard terrific audience and musician feedback, so we were very excited to work with her once again. This program opens with Brahms's Tragic Overture. For those attending concerts this week, he wrote 2 overtures, and we'll be playing the other one. The program will close with Robert Schumann's Symphony No. 3, the Rhenish, inspired after his visit there, and the entire program highlights the musical and close personal friendships between Brahms and the Schumann. This next classical concert is presented on both the Sunday and Tuesday subscriptions, and once again will be led by our music director designate. As in our January classical concert, we have saved space for the music director designate to select a work that he feels best rounds out this program. We will see Ben Beilman's return to the Portland Symphony soloing on Sibelius's Violin Concerto after his spectacular debut with us in November 2016, when he performed the Prokofiev's first violin concerto. We have heard such excited and positive response after Ben's debut with us that we had to have him return again. Closing the program is one of the cornerstones of the symphonic rep, the Dvorak Symphony No. 9 from the New World. This was originally commissioned by the New York Philharmonic and has musical inspirations from Native American themes as well as African American spirituals. Finally, closing the classical season, we will see the return of Jeffrey Kahane. Please note that this concert will be on a Sunday and a Monday. Jeffrey will once again play conduct, opening the program with Beethoven's Piano Concerto No. 2. Rachmaninoff referred to the piece as his choral symphony and sometimes even his unofficial third symphony. Of course, he did later go on to write an orchestral third symphony. This piece will be performed in Russian. The inspiration for this piece came from Edgar Allan Poe's poem, The Bells. Finally, closing out the program and season will be Rimsky-Korsakov's Capriccio Espagnol. This is a wonderfully exciting work that is a 5-movement suite of Spanish folk melodies. Listen to solo violin, clarinet, and harp lines in the piece. So that concludes our full classical season for next year. Moving on, we have the Magic of Christmas. And Bruce Hangen, who I mentioned earlier, will return to Merrill to conduct all 12 performances of Magic this year. As I mentioned, Bruce brought Magic of Christmas to Portland during his tenure from 76 to 86, and we were so excited to welcome him back to what is sure to be a truly special and festive set of performances. So our PUPS programming, we're excited to present 4 contrasting PUPS programs for next season. Our first PUPS program will be called the Sinatra Swing. It features standards from the 1950s, of course Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Bobby Darin. It'll be a fun and jazzy night. In January, we'll be having our PUPS 2 program. It's entitled Women Rock. We will be bringing 3 singers who have been Grammy nominated and performed on TV and on Broadway. It celebrates the music of Carole King, Pat Benatar, Janis Joplin, Tina Turner, amongst other influential women of rock and roll. In February, and just in time for Valentine's Day, conductor Ted Sperling will lead vocalist Betsy Wolfe, who appears on Broadway's production of The Waitress, and Santino Fontana, who voiced Prince Hans in Disney's Frozen. This program will feature works from Follies, Carousel, West Side Story, amongst other popular Broadway shows. PUPS programming is rounded out by our performance with the Hut Sardines. This new group has performed across the US and internationally. They held a #1 slot on iTunes Jazz Chart. They've been featured at the Newport Jazz Festival, the Montreal Jazz Festival, and performed recently with the Boston Pops. This group is known for being exceptionally innovative and bring a truly amazing energy to our stage. And that's our PUPS programming. I'm going to turn it over to John Elliott, who is our Director of Education, and he'll speak about some of our discovery programming for this next year.
All right, thank you very much. Boy, bravo, Leah. And I did an interesting kind of sneak from the back screen there. It was a really cool move. My name's John Elliott. I'm the Director of Education and Community Engagement here at the PSO, and I'm really excited to be talking to you all about our Discovery Concert Series. Now, not everybody here may know a whole lot about our Discovery Concerts, so let me just tell you a little bit about them. They're a little bit unique. They're slightly different than what we would do for a classical, pops, or magic concert, in that not only are they great performances that we have here at Merrill Auditorium on Sunday afternoons, but about an hour or two before the performance, there are a number of community events that take place around the concerts themselves. So, for example, here in the rehearsal hall, families can bring their kids to meet members of the orchestra as they demonstrate their actual instruments. So your child can come into this very room, meet a PSO musician, and play the trombone for the first time, or a snare drum, or the flute. We also have other events that take place in the rest of the building that really add a level of engagement that's pretty different from what we would do for some of our more serious classical repertoire. So Discovery Concerts are really great. We target our performances to reach families that have kids between the ages of 4 and 12, and they're really a blast. And so let me walk you through what we're planning for next year. Our first Discovery Concert is going to take place in January. And the theme of that performance is going to be Winter Wonderland. This is going to be a great opportunity to introduce your kids to the works of classical composers like Tchaikovsky and some of the other classical greats, while sort of celebrating the winter season at a time when it might be really hard to celebrate the winter season in January. So really great kind of activity to take your kids to during that time of the year. Moving on to March, we're doing a program that I'm really excited about. It's called Solar System Symphony, and it's going to feature a work by the British composer Gustav Holst called The Planets. So it should be just a really fun kind of musical journey through the solar system, and it's going to be a really great match for families who have kids who aren't afraid to, geek out about space and science and STEM-related topics, like myself, if I'm being honest. So in March, Solar System Symphony, it's going to be really fun. Our third and final performance for our Discovery Series next year is actually going to be a return of a program that we've performed in the past, and we had a blast performing it, and audiences seem to really enjoy joining us for it. And that's Harry Potter and the Magic of Music. Obviously, this is going to feature a bunch of the works of John Williams and his score to the Harry Potter movies, as well as some other classical works in the mix. And it's highly recommended that you put on your best Harry Potter or Hagrid costume for this one. This is a really great photo op for you and the family. So in January, Winter Wonderland. In March, Solar System Symphony. And in May, Harry Potter and the Magic of Music. And if I could just quickly say a little bit about the scope of our education and community programs here, Discovery Concerts are one of many programs that we have. We keep a pretty busy schedule, reaching folks all the way from 4 to 104 in educational and enlightening kind of pursuits through these programs. Right now we're doing about 200 events every year that reach about 30,000 attendees. And we're really proud of the scope of that work. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that's a big deal for our organization, and it speaks so much to the core, our core mission, which is enriching lives through music. So thank you so much. That's a little bit about Discovery Concerts. I think I'm going to give it back to Carolyn, who's going to tell you a little bit more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John and Leah. So that is our 18-19 season. We are so excited to welcome you all into the hall for Sunday concerts, Tuesday, and in one case, Monday, classical concerts, our Pops concerts over the weekend. And we really encourage you and your families to come and join us, whether it's at kinder concerts that travel all over the state, our youth concerts, which you may not know about, bring in 4th and 5th graders from all over the state into Merrill Auditorium, and we fill the hall. Upstairs, 2,000 seats with young people. We invite you and your families to come to our family discovery concerts. It is so critical to our mission that we're reaching all members of our community. And we are also thrilled to invite our music director designate to the podium, to have incredible artists like Jeffrey Kahane join us on stage, to feature our own Portland Symphony musicians like Lisa Hennessy on the stage, It's going to be an incredibly exciting season, and I thank you all for being here.